Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be canning beans. Lots and lots of beans. I'm also going to be cooking up a big batch of Cowboy beans along with this. So come along with me and we're going to have a good old-fashioned canning day. Okay, I'm back, everybody, and what we've got here is, this is a brand new pressure canner for me. I've never had one with a dial before. And so I'm running a first batch in order to kind of get my sea legs with it and get comfortable. And I have 7 quarts in there of pinto beans going. Once that batch is done, I still have some left in my giant stock pot that are ready to be canned. And then I still have these guys. So I'm probably looking at another 14 quarts when it's all said and done. I do have my other pressure canner here that I can get going for the remainder over here. So I'm probably going to get that started and I will be back with you. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I've got both canners going. We now have our weights on both. Our dial gauge is actually higher, which is why I'm back. I wanted to discuss this with you. This recipe calls for 11 pounds of pressure on this particular model and 10 on this one. This one's fine, it's rocking and rolling. I did some research and found out that this particular weight is a 15-pound weight. It is not going to move one iota unless you're pressure canning at 15 pounds, period. You can get a different weighted gauge, but apparently in my research I found it's not really all that important. What's important is your dial right here. And I did research on if it goes over the 11 pounds of pressure, and apparently it's fine too. You're safe up to 2 to 3, but if you exceed 4, you're going to be looking at siphoning and having some issues. So I've lowered my temperature, and I'm now holding it about 12 instead of 13, which is what I was at before. And I'm supposed to be at 11, so we're looking pretty good. And I've got about 85 minutes left on the first one. And that's this one right here that is currently processing. This one hasn't started yet. I will set a different timer for that, and it's also 90 minutes. So I will be right back. Okie doke. We have both processed the canners. They're both done. 90 minutes on each one. The pressure is now dropping on this one, as is this one. Between these two, we've got 11 jars, quart jars of pinto beans, and I'm fixing to do the second round. So I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, our first batch of pinto beans are done. We got 11 quarts, and all of them appear to have come out very, very well. Hi, Benny. With our next batch, the canners are now empty, and now I have the next batch of beans going, and I should get the same amount of jars, maybe a 12th one. So I'm going to bring this to a boil. Then we're going to boil it 30 minutes, and then I can start ladling it into clean jars, which I have over here, and I have enough to finish out this batch. And then I think that's going to be it for tonight, and then we'll hit it again tomorrow morning because we still have many more waves of the war to wage, something like that. Anyway, I'll be back shortly. Okay, we are back. We have our second big batch cooking. Well, it's not cooking, it's boiling right now. And the timer has been set for 30 minutes. You can see all the steam. So that is going to go for 30 minutes, and then once we are done with that, then we are going to start the canning process all over again. I have cleaned all of my spoons. I've got all of my lids and rings cleaned and dried. We've got all of the jars already sanitized and ready to go. Those guys are popping along nicely, literally and figuratively. And all I have to do at this point is add a couple more quarts of water to each of the canners, and we will be back on track at this point. I have the temperature set a little above medium. Probably need to actually turn that down just a little. And I think we're good to go. About 27-ish minutes left. And we can move on to the final round. And then tomorrow we're going to be canning kidney beans, and then we're going to be making cowboy beans, which I'm really looking forward to. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, our 30 minutes has finished, and what I'm going to do now, I've already started heating up this canner, and I'm going to have to wait for the second canner because I have to fill the jars to go in here to be able to lift this to make room for this. Highly technical, I know. So I'm going to begin setting up over here to get our cans ready, or jars ready. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to have to kind of do this in stages here because my beans are over here. My counter space that is all I have left is here, and yeah, I got a slotted spoon so I can put beans in first, and then I will use the ladle for the actual juice. And I should have enough to fill all my jars, so we'll see here. Be right back. Okay, this is kind of a little bit of an awkward setup, but we're going to see if we can make this work. Okay, so put this guy in here. Now, even though I have done a cook on these, so it should help with any extra absorption of water, I'm still only going to fill my jars up to about here, simply because I don't mind the expansion room, and I think it's just a safer bet. So it's probably it for that, and I'm going to move that over. Excited about having some pinto beans on the shelf. Actually, this is my first time canning beans, period. I've never done it before, so this is my first time doing it. And what I've done is I actually got larger bags. They were cheap, and so the price per jar is pennies on the dollar, really. Now I'm going to take some of the juice, or the cooking liquid actually, and bring it up to probably about our first ring here is all I'm going to do. See that? I'm going to bring it up to our first line here on the jar. I'm going to call that probably pretty good. About right there. So I'm going to be stopping right around in here. It calls for 1.5 inch headspace, and that's actually about 2 inches, so we should be pretty good. Oops. I looked crazy there, didn't I? Okay, so that should be good for those two. I'm going to use a hot pad. Okay, we got our next 2 jars. And I'm just going to keep repeating this until I've got all my jars ready to go. And all of my jars have been put through the dishwasher and sterilized, so we're all good there. All of the lids and rings have all been cleaned as well. And I'm thinking we're going to have a nice stash of convenience food beans ready to go. I actually got quite a bit more in there than I planned. So I'm going to keep going with this and be back with you shortly. Okay, so now I've got all of my jars filled. What I need to do now is I'm going to add my salt, which is 1 teaspoon. These are quarts. I'm so cramped right now trying to do this with all this stuff out. It's crazy. Anyway, okay. And I just dumped some salt. Okay. And there we go. Okay. Alright, we can do this. Okay, and I've got my vinegar cleaning right here on my paper towel. And I got quite a bit of salt on. They should all be clean. I've checked them for any nicks or anything like that. Okay. And we're going to debubble. Since there it is. A little pokey poke. Be sure we don't have any air pockets. I don't think we do, but we'll poke it anyway. Be sure we can get anything out if there is anything hiding. Okay, and just because I tapped that, I'll give it another little wipe. Okay, so we've got our clean lids. Put those on. Come on. Couple finger tight. It scares me to death when it does that. Okay. I already have the canner heating, so we're on our way there. The jars are clean and hot. The product is hot. Finger tight. Turn them just right. Should only have one lid there. Sometimes they do get stuck together. That's a little toasty. And one more here. Okay. I've got 7 quarts in there. This is the dial pressure canner. So let's see if I can do this in under 20 minutes here. Okay, which way? There we go. Seal it up. And, oops. It just dawned on me I've got the wrong lid on the wrong canner. Okay. You ever have one of those nights? And we begin. So, okay. Now that I have this canner going, I can start filling the second canner because I can now be able to, well, at least hopefully, I will move the pot of remaining beans over and see how many jars we get out of that. I'll be right back. Well, guys, interesting. That's the last 2 jars, and they're not even that full, but I'm going to go ahead and can them and just put those up front and use those first. But yeah, I actually ended up with more cooking liquid than I did beans, but that's okay. We've got 11, 12, 18, 20 jars. Yeah, 18 and 2 that are air and a spare, I guess. But we got 18 full ones and 20 total. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'll get these ready to go in the canner, and I will simply just process these 2 by themselves. So I'll be back. Okay, everybody is on locked and loaded in the cans, and the temperature on the stove is cruising towards high, and we are ready to go. And for the record, I did research that yes, the minimum amount according to the new Ball Book guidelines is a minimum of 2 cans, so I can actually safely pressure can those last 2. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, our timer just went off at the 10-minute mark of venting for each one of these, and now I'm going to put the weights on. Okay, now this is where I start paying attention, because this one I need to be sure that it does not go above 12 at the most. 12 or 13. If it hits 14, I've got a problem. So I need to keep it between 11 and 13, preferably 11 and 12. And this one over here, it just needs to rock. So I'm going to monitor my temperature and my gauges, and then we're going to start processing once this reaches the correct pressure. And when this one starts moving, I'll start processing both at 90 minutes. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so we can see this one has already started jiggling, but this one hasn't come up yet. But this one only has 2 jars in it, and so yeah, it's going to heat a lot faster. So I've already set the timer for this one right here, and then I will set a separate timer for this when it comes up to pressure. I did turn down the heat so I can slow down the weighted regulator. So that should calm down here in just a moment, and the timer, of course, is running. So, all right, and we are almost to the 11-pound mark. We should be there in just a couple of minutes, and then I'll start our timer on that. See you shortly. Okay, we are now at our sweet spot of just over 11 pounds, just cresting on 12 pounds of pressure. So I've already set my timer, and we are on our way. Okay, this one is now done. The timer just went off, and the heat has been turned off, as you can see in the back. We're going to let that gradually come down in temperature, and then we will take off the regulator once we get there. This one still has 11 minutes and 15 seconds. It has maintained a perfect 12 pounds per pressure, or 12 pounds of pressure, and I'm pretty happy with that. So, we'll be right back. Alrighty, we have done it. They're both processed. The heat is off on both of them. I just turned this one off right now, but it's already starting to drop. Once these are cool, take the lids off, put the jars in the counter. And yes, it is that late. It's 1:07. I'll be right back. Well, welcome back, everyone. We got 20 quart jars of pinto beans done today. Just took them out, and they're still percolating. But it looks like we're going to have all good seals, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again in the morning, and we will hit the kidney beans and some cowboy beans. So, I will see you all in the morning, and you all have a lovely night. Oh, I'm tired. I'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye. Good morning, everyone. And we are back, and now I'm going to start the day off by making a big pot of the cowboy beans. And I did some research, and a lot of the recipes are very much make as you will. There's a lot that are heavy towards more of the baked bean category. There's more that are just straight up pinto beans and meat. I mean, it's everything in between. So I'm going to do a little bit of all the worlds. So it's going to be a very simple recipe. I'm going to use some baked beans elements. I'm going to use ground beef, obviously. It's cooking away here. Bacon, onion, and just make a hearty stew for a very cold, rainy day out there. And we are going to keep moving on this, and I will be right back. So I've diced 1/2 of an onion. Probably not going to use this second half right here, but we have a nice solid dice on that. And I'm going to probably just give it a little chop all the way through. And then I'm just going to set that aside. No, a lot of the recipes call for like bell pepper, green bell pepper and that kind of thing. I'm probably not going to use that. Not many of us in the house here eat. Oh, I like green bell pepper, and another family member does too, but there's one that just doesn't really care for it. So I'm probably going to omit that and just stick with some very basic ingredients and just make a nice hearty meal with it. So I'm going to set these aside and get back with the ground beef. Be right back. Okay, we have gotten the ground beef done, and I have drained off all the fat. I moved my pot to the back, and I got my bacon defrosted. I'm going to get that sliced up now. And then we're going to add that to the pot, and then we're going to drain that fat off. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our bacon defrosted, and I'm going to get that out of the bag. And this is just the half pack of bacon from the other video that we did when we used it, I believe, for coq au vin. And again, I'm just going to slice these up into 1-inch lardons if we want to be fancy, but just postage stamp size, 1-inch squares. And we're going to render this in the pot by itself. And I'm not going to cook this all the way till it's crispy because you don't really want that. Maybe I'll go big and just, let's go ahead and slice that down just a bit. Okay, so I'm going to get this in the pot. I'm going to slowly render it for a little bit. I'm going to cook it about like I did with the coq au vin. I don't want it crispy, but I want it completely done. So I'm going to cook it slower. So I will get that started. I'll be right back. Okay, so I finished the ground beef, I finished the bacon. I took out the excess bacon grease, and I've left about a tablespoon in there. And I'm going to turn my heat back onto about medium, and we're going to get the onions and the garlic going. Now all these beautiful little brown bits in here, this onion is going to help lift that to create a really beautiful flavor, because this is all flavor down here. Now I'm going to take about a teaspoon of salt. And I have my temperature set just a little below medium on here. I'm just going to use that to scrape up all the goodness in this pan, because there is a lot of goodness. Forgive my voice today. I'm having a lot of trouble with my voice. If I sound quiet and scratchy, that's why. My microphone is fine, my voice is not. But as you can see, we're getting some good color here. I'm trying to get you in the shot here, guys. Some good color. It's starting to look really, really good. Now I'm going to take some of my garlic this is the last of my homegrown garlic that I have left. Literally like 2 tablespoons. That's what I got left. I did get the garlic planted. I'm actually trying something different this year. It's going to be in pots. I'm growing garlic in pots to save on precious real estate in the garden. So I put about a tablespoon in. Give that just a little mix. Yeah, I planted 22 pots. What I did every year, I save and clean any pots we get from nurseries. So each of them are like, 6-inch pots. And I reuse them, and this year it's like I'm going garlic with them. And it's great because then there's plenty of room for the garlic to grow. It's in good soil, and it's well drained, and I can move them wherever I need to in the garden. So I think it's a really good idea. Okay, so I would say that looks pretty good. I'm going to add back in all of our lovely protein here. And get that all in there. And the only thing on the ground beef I put was some salt. That was it. The seasonings I'm saving for when we're actually ready to start putting this dish together. Okay, let's start adding some of those lovely beans that we just canned. I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got the onions, the garlic, the ground beef, and the bacon, and it's looking pretty happy. And what I've got here is, this is pretty much a fully drained jar of the beans that we made. So I can get them all out here. I like the consistency. I could definitely see myself making refried beans with this for sure. Yeah, they're not super mushy. The ones on the bottom were a little bit more mushy, but the beans themselves held up very, very nicely. And then this one I kind of drained. I left a lot of the liquid in there. Get them to come out here. That looks really lovely. And that's just 2 of the jars that we made yesterday. And keep in mind, there's only salt in here right now. Let me get a spoon. Let's get a small one. Get some of the beans. That's really good flavor. I'm super happy about that. The beans themselves taste good. And when we canned those, all we did was put in salt. Just salt. So, that's pretty thick. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit. Baked beans. Now I'm going to drain off little bit of that liquid. And I'm actually going to add a little bit at a time here. Because I'm not sure I really want to use that whole thing. I want a little bit of the barbecue flavor, but not like baked beans straight up flavor. Good stir. Now I put in about half the can. So let's get a new spoon. Okay, and see what that flavor's like. Okay, it's not as sweet as I thought it would be. That's really good. It's faintly sweet. I wonder, because I think I'm going to go get a jar of chicken stock. I like the thickness, but I also know that it's going to turn into a brick once it's refrigerated if I do not thin it out. Do I want to add more? I'm thinking... Well, I tell you what, I'm going to go get that jar of chicken stock and I'll be right back. Okay, So I have procured the chicken stock. I'm going to add a little bit as I go here because I don't want soup. And that wasn't quite half the jar, almost. I'm really kind of digging that. Okay, I'm going to add some more. Alright, add the rest. Okay, I think we got that. Add some more of this. I'm pretty positive I can remember the recipe. I'll have to write that down and put it on the recipe website for everybody. That's a good consistency. I'm going to let this come to a simmer, but first we're going to start adding our seasonings. Because keep in mind, all we have in here right now is salt. So let's do... I'm going to use a lot less of the onion powder. Remember, I like to layer my flavors. This is an organic, very finely powdered onion powder, so it's a lot more, it's got a lot more oomph, shall we say. And, of course, some of our garlic powder, probably about a tablespoon. So about a tablespoon of each. And some chili powder. I'll probably put 2 tablespoons of that in. And it's not spicy. This is basically smoked mild peppers. I'm going to put in some paprika. I don't have any smoked paprika, so I'm just going to use the regular stuff, about a tablespoon. Hopefully I'm doing this right. And about a half teaspoon of, but those are all tablespoons. This is a half tablespoon of cumin. Okay. And I'm going to add some more salt. Let me get this mixed in a bit. Okay. It's got a really lovely consistency. Let's grab some more salt. I'm going to say about a tablespoon. Keep in mind this is a pretty gosh darn big pot. Eyeballing it, I would say we have about 3 quarts of actual cowboy beans here in the pot, so quite a bit. Okay. Okay, I'm going to let this come to a simmer, and then we're going to do another taste test after it simmers for about 15 or 20 minutes. I'll be right back. Well, the verdict is in. Everyone had dinner, and it is a success. Everybody loved it. So I'm going to put this into some containers. And this will freeze beautifully, by the way. And we're going to be moving on to canning those kidney beans up now. I think this turned out really good. It's real simple, too. I think we have what? We've got bacon, ground beef. We have, I did add an extra jar of pinto beans. We've got 3 jars of pinto beans, 1 can of baked beans. And we have... fresh onion and fresh garlic plus powdered onion, powdered garlic, and then we have cumin, chili powder, and paprika, and salt. That's it. That's pretty sweet. So it's economical, filling, hearty, and it's wonderful on a cold day like today where it's all rainy and drizzly and kind of just hits the spot. So I'm going to put these in containers and we will get started canning kidney beans. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back and got the kidney beans rinsed and put in the pot here. We've got it covered by about 3 inches of water. I'm going to bring that to a boil. Set my timer once again like I did with the pinto beans for 30 minutes covered. And then I'm going to get canners started setting up. Actually, I'm going to start that now. So I'll be right back. Okay, we have finished cooking the beans. I had to go over a little bit more time. I set it for 30 minutes and went and decided to take a break, and the temperature was too low. So I had to boost the temp back up and boil it for another 15 minutes. No big deal. The first canner is warm enough that we can go ahead and start filling our jars over here. And I'm pretty much going to do the same setup that I did last night, where I'm basically running back and forth all over my tiny kitchen. So let's go ahead and get rolling on that. All of my jars are clean and sanitized. I just took them out of the dishwasher. I have cleaned and sanitized all my lids. My rings are clean and dry. I've got extra jars back here that are ready to go. My second canner. And we shall begin. I'll be right back. Just like before, we're going to do this 2 at a time. Let me get my funnel. And we are going to start by draining the liquid out, put the beans in first. I'm probably going to start or stop somewhere right about here. And then we'll add the juice second. Very glad to have some kidney beans canned on the shelf because they're getting a little scarce at my local store and the prices have tripled. So now I did not make as many of the kidney beans as I did the pinto beans. A couple of reasons. I'm tired, for one. But also because I really don't want to have another 4 a.m. night. So I'm going to do this first batch. And this again was 4 pounds of dried beans. I should still get... well, I know I'll get a full canner of the first one, but I'm not sure how many for the second one. So let me grab our ladle here. And this is just the cooking liquid. And I'm going to fill this to basically the first thread on the bottle, which would be right about here. It says in the book, like I was telling you last night, about 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches. Oh, geez. Like I mentioned, I guess I am tired. Move that. I am tired, so I don't remember if it's 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches headspace, but we're going to give it that much and we should be good. It's about 1 inch and about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. So if it's only 1.25 inches, we're good. Plenty of room to grow. A little bit more. That should do it. Alright, these are our first 2, and I will keep moving along and be right back. Okay, so I've got all my jars filled, and let me turn you a little bit here. Sound of the tripod there. And I'm going to get all these cleaned up. I ended up with 8 jars, and so I'm just going to split them up evenly between the 2 canners and just call that good. Let me grab our lids. Get those on. These are regular mouth jars that I'm using tonight instead of the wide mouth because I just don't really have enough wide mouth left, but to me this will be just fine. I'm gonna order some more from Tractor Supply, I think, if they can have them in stock, that is. Okay, so all right, so let's get the rings on and I'll get them in the canners. Good morning, everyone. We did it. We actually did it. 25 jars. to go on the pantry shelves. I'm so excited about this. My first time canning beans. I know that's supposed to be like one of the simplest things to do in the world. You know what? Every time something's brand new for me, I'm scared. It's a new canning adventure. So I'm pretty excited and proud of my progress on this one. We did both pinto beans and kidney beans, and I think they turned out really, really awesome. Everything sealed beautifully. No issues whatsoever. We tried out the brand new canner along with our original one together, which was really exciting. I've never used a dial weighted gauge canner before. I've always just used the one that has the jiggler. They're both Presto models, which I'm pretty excited about. I've started out with Presto. I really love their canners. I know that there's a couple of other ones, but I'm a Presto girl. I'm just going to go with that. But yeah, we did it. 25 jars of beautiful, beautiful beans. And as you remember, we also made a lovely batch of Cowboy beans that immediately got, well, mostly annihilated. It was a hit, and I'm super excited about that. It's something, I'm always looking for something that I can add to my repertoire to feed my family, because I do have someone who's not necessarily a picky eater, but there are certain things that he just doesn't care for. And so if I can get a new item on the menu that he likes, that everyone in the house likes, it's a huge win. So Cowboy beans are now on the menu for good. I'm super excited about that. I made up about 4 containers after the fact. So yeah, everyone had a pretty hearty dinner last night. It was pretty awesome. So I think I'm going to wrap this up for today, everybody. And I'm super excited about seeing you in the next one. And if you like this content, share it with a friend, like, subscribe, and I'm sure that I will see you again. And in the meantime, please feel free to check out some of my other videos. And I look forward to seeing you next time, friends. Have a good one, and I love ya. Bye-bye.